It is a brand new episode of Flyers Daily for the 21st of July, 2025. Flyers Daily, as usual, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. It's Jason Myrtetus, and it is a Mondays with Meltzer edition. You read his work on PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and, of course, the Piping Hot HockeyHotStove.com as well, where Bill's got a great series going right now, breaking down Rick Tocchets systems. Bill, I love talking systems, and I love breaking them down. That's why I break out the whiteboard here on the podcast from time to time as well. And I know you've been working on, zone exits. You did the box in one, which we covered here as well.
Yeah.
But zone exits, you got to have the personnel to do it, right?
That's the biggest part of it, right? You want to be, you're going to the stretch pass of L, but you want to be able to spring your weak side winger, and not have to go off the glass and out or. I honestly think like league wide, and it was actually Vegas that was doing it a lot. But I think the high flip is teams have adjusted to that too to try to team can still do that, but it just felt like for a while Vegas could do that at will, flip it out and then regain the neutral zone. But now it's such an aspect of getting out of the D zone that I think most teams are used to seeing it by now. There's still nothing like a defenseman who can skate the puck or that guy who can make that quick read, get up to a forward, and you're off and running. So you're on the attack, you have possession. You have to kind of gear your breakout a little bit towards the personnel that you have. Now, in Vancouver, I was just talking about off the glass and out. Vancouver had to use that probably way too much. Now, it looked different when Hughes was on the ice, right? So that like to get there, whether that'll be Cam York. Certainly Drysdale has the ability to do that. He wants a team that plays fast and plays quick and whatnot. One thing I think to watch in Tocchet breakouts, we were talking about the box and one, is how important the center is. But the center is very important in the breakout piece too. They're the last one to leave the defensive zone. And they're your safety valve. A lot of times on a reversal, the defenseman who picks up the puck will start skating towards his partner, and instead of doing a D-to-D pass, he'll reverse it to the center over the middle, and then the center will look for a forward up the ice too. So the Flyers centers are going to have a lot on them, a lot riding on them. I'm interested, particularly if Zegras is going to play in the middle. How does he handle the defensive responsibilities, and how does he handle the other part getting up ice? Because we already know what he can do up ice.
Yeah, it's a system thing for the centers where they have to read the play and read the reverse. Now, oftentimes you'll hear a D yelling it or the goalie yelling it to reverse, and that's when the center's got to read it and curl the opposite way to then go up the weak side and then look for that pass. And he's a safety valve. He's like a tight end in football.
100%.
If you got pressure, that guy's got to be in the right spot for you to get it, especially if you're facing a 2-1-2 aggressive forecheck, because that takes away your D-to-D pass.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. It's not necessarily a center responsibility that you have to be a fleet of foot for.
No.
But you have to be able to read.
You have to be mentally. Yeah, you have to have the hockey sense to be able to do that. And
because if you don't, you clog up one side of the ice. You're running into each other like a bunch of hobos.
Exactly.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the Flyers can do that, because we were talking before we recorded. It looked like two different teams in Vancouver. When Hughes is on the ice, he either takes the real estate they give him or he has that pass. If he doesn't have it, he's a couple strides moving up and seeing what opens up.
Yeah.
But the high flip, it's got a place in one scenario, in my opinion, still in the league. Under incredible pressure, it's a release valve. Just to chuck it to center ice, reset.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally a reset. Go back.
It can't be your primary forecheck.
No, but it felt like that first year with Vegas when they got to the finals, that was weapon number one for them, and it worked over and over and over again. It took a while for teams to adapt to it. It was actually it was Bundy that pointed out to me when they were working it so well that like teams need to adapt to that because they're doing it over and over again, and he was right.
Well, you know why teams didn't adapt to it? Because they didn't know what to do with the puck being in the air. Everybody stood around and watched.
Yeah,
it's incumbent upon the other forwards, because usually your center fielder in that spot is going to be a D-man stepping up inside the blue line, close to the red line. And the wingers and the center got to put themselves in a responsible position that if you don't get possession, they're not going the other way.
Exactly.
I think it just confused people because it was unorthodox. But we'll see where it goes, and we'll look for that the forecheck and everything else. And Tuck runs an aggressive forecheck. That's going to come with some risk at the other end as well. Bill, we're going to get to the Ask Billy questions, hashtag Ask Billy questions in this episode. But before we get there, I kind of wanted to pick up what we talked about last week, which was we were kind of setting the standard, and we were going through a lot of the question marks with the team. But I compiled a little list of the things I feel like I know with a high degree of certainty heading into this season. And the first thing that I feel like I really know about this team is the Travi. I don't worry about either Travis Konechny or Travis Sanheim. The way these two have matured as pros, I don't worry about their preparedness, their willingness. I think these guys are both looking for bigger pieces of leadership. We've seen steps in that direction. I think they're looking for even more with new faces and some younger faces here as well. I don't question the two of those and that they're going to be ready come game 1 of the 82 this season.
No, and you know what you'll get from those guys. I guess the only extent there's a question is just that, carrying it through the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Sanheim. I mean, he played the best hockey of his career. He looked like when you say they lack a number one. He looked like a number one defenseman the first half of the year, which
is why he made 4 nations.
Exactly, and it's why he'll make the Olympic team too, probably once you're so he wasn't as good in the second half as he was in the first. The year before that, he was great through November, and then wasn't quite as effective the rest of the year. I mean, he was fine, but just compared to the first part of the season. The same thing with Konechny too, because he will play through anything, right? So if he's banged up, he'll be the last one to ever tell you and be the last one to ever use it for an excuse. But you could draw right to the game. It was the game against the Islanders,
January 9th.
Yep, exactly. Where he went into the wall, he missed some shifts, he came back, and then I think the game after that he scored a goal. But then he went in that long spell where pucks weren't going in for him, and he looked like he was laboring physically. Mm-hmm. And again, he'll never admit it. But that
was a weird hit in the left corner,
right,
where he's a little ways from the boards and went in awkward.
Yeah, that was. I think it was the same game where Ryan Poehling got hurt too.
Yeah, because they fought the guy because of the hit.
Yeah, exactly. So same game, same period. His was at the end of the first period. Poehling was very early in the first. So, I mean, because for a while it looked like Sanheim Konechny could get 95, 100 points this year. He was kind of on that pace where he could be there, and then wasn't there the rest. So really, just keeping those guys healthy and keeping their A game through the entire season. But in terms of their preparation, in terms of them exempling leadership to the group and their ability to play at a high level, no, those are definitely not question marks. Those are guys you know what you'll get from them.
You have to wonder if one or both of those guys will be on Team Canada come Olympic time as well. So. Certainly in that conversation. Another guy I don't question, Bill. Some may question this one. I do not, and here's why. It's Noah Cates. Some may question where he fits on this team. He signs, obviously, the new contract. But if you want to look at a specific player to me that Rick Tocchets going to have an immediate impact on, it's Noah Cates. Right. He's at the top of that list. Maybe Owen Tippett as well, I'm hoping. But with Cates, I feel like I know it. Now, Cates earned the contract. He's become a very good NHL player with a very detailed game. And I think Tocchet and his staff, plus the confidence that Cates has now with the contract in hand and everything, and the way he works on and off the ice, I think he's a player that's going to take a big step this year again. After he took a pretty sizable one last year.
Oh, he did. Well, until last season, a couple months in, you didn't know if he was going to be left wing or center, right? And he proved conclusively he could certainly play center in the NHL, and his hottest offensive spell of the season too was there. My question, Jason, I don't know the answer to this. I don't think we're going to know the answer to this till the season starts, is how do you organize your centers? Where's Couturier? Where's Cates? Is Zegras? Is he going to play center? And then then Dvorak too. Is Dvorak your 3C, because you don't pay a guy over $5 million to make him your 4C. And in Montreal, by the end of the year, he was kind of playing two. To me, he's kind of Paling's replacement.
Yeah.
Particularly where Paling finished out. But okay, and I realize it's going to fluctuate over the course of the year. But if you had to say, okay, this is your 1C, 2, 3, 4, I'm not sure who's who quite yet.
And where's Lachenko in this equation?
And and Jay Lachenko, does he make the team? Right.
Yeah.
So so I'm not sure. I mean, those are on the question mark side, but in terms of in terms of the way that Kate stepped up a year ago and showed an ability to certainly play within your middle six, your top 9 group, and he was playing higher than that a lot of times.
Yeah.
They were starting periods, actually. They usually get the first shift of the period. And I have no doubt that Rick Tocchets going to have a lot of trust in him in different situations. To me, it's just a question of who slots where, and I guess that'll play itself out.
Yeah, we obviously know about the combination last year with Cates, Forster, and Brink.
Right, yeah.
And we'll see where that goes pending Tyson Forster's availability at the beginning of the year. He's a player to me that I think those are really important players, particularly when you become a playoff team. I think that they just that detail that they play with every day isn't a switch they got to flip come playoff time. Let's get to some Ask Billy questions. We got some good ones here. This one comes in from CJW65. He says, Bill, how many, if any, players spend a large part of the offseason near Voorhees and work closely with the teams, conditioning coaches as well? Some guys come and go. What about Michkov's program? I see his on ice life on social media, but this will be the first year with training. So let's take this in pieces, Bill. There are some players that stay in the area, particularly ones coming off injuries a lot of times or surgeries. Some players just stay in the area because the facilities are good and they can work with the Flyers trainers and dietitians and all that. Generally speaking, is it about a third of the team that stays?
Say a third of the team is a fair estimate. You have your guys rehabbing injuries, as you said. A lot of times younger players that are trying to get on an off-season program, particularly they want to add some muscle to their frame. A Denver Barkey type would be a classic example of a player that would work out in Voorhees throughout the summer. I would say about a third of the team. And then you also have your players from overseas that often go home for the summer. Michkov was part of the question. I mean, he's back in Russia, but he'll be back for camp. So,
and look, whoever they're working out with is, fully in communication with the program that the Flyers want to do as well. Carson Bjarnason, I think he's got a cot in there. I don't think they can get him out of there at this point. A lot of players will remain there, and we'll see how that benefits. Some guys get older and they start working out with a guy like Gary Roberts in the Toronto area or things like that, and change their off-season preparation as they learn more about what it takes to the grind of 82 games. Rob Quigley tweets in for Ask Billy and says, when can we expect to hear a decision on where Porter Martone intends to play this season? Well, I mean, we're only about a week from August at this point, 10 days. Going to have to find out sometime in August, because if you're going to Michigan State, Michigan, Penn State, classes start around the 22nd.
Yeah, and it's reading tea leaves here, but when Porter was asked that question, he basically said that unless the Flyers tell me otherwise, I want to make the team out of camp. Well, there's only one way to do that. The only way to do that is to be here. The only way to be here is to keep your OHL affiliation. So I think that's what he wants to do, to try to play in the NHL right away. But the Flyers might tell him, the benefit of college hockey is you work out all year long, you turn pro, you could join the Phantoms a little sooner, et cetera. If you need that time, you can always be called up, whenever. So I mean, the Flyers will have say in it, but if I had to place a bet on it, I would say that he keeps his junior affiliation with the interest of trying to make the team out of camp.
Yeah, and I'm not against that.
No,
I'm really not. I don't think I like the college route for him too because of what you said. That he's not a guy that needs to put on a lot of muscle.
No,
he's going to naturally put that on because of his frame throughout his career. So he's not a guy that I go, well, he's way too slight to play in the NHL. He needs a year of packing muscle. But hey, I mean, look, if he's good enough to make the team and he can make them better, I'm all for it. I got nothing against that.
No.
Tyler tweets in and says, how big of an impact do you think the Olympic break will have on the season? I feel like the schedule wasn't as strong this year with that break in February. Also bummed about not having a home Black Friday game. Yeah, that's the Eagles play that day at Lincoln Financial Field. So the Flyers do not have the home game. They're on the road, I believe, but and it's later in the afternoon. But the Olympic break, we've been down this road before, Bill. We saw Four Nations last year. It was a smaller version of it. This is a little bit longer and obviously more players involved with so many countries involved. It can become a major disruption. It can be also a benefit to you. It's just all in how the team handles it, I think.
So you can look back at history of previous Olympic years, and it seems to really vary. Some teams benefit from the break, and players come back from the Olympics and hit a whole higher level in their game. And other players and teams seem to have a post-Olympic hangover of sorts. It can go either which way, but to me, January is so packed, and most of your players are not playing in the Olympics. I mean, you'll have obviously a handful, but that time off could potentially be beneficial for those guys, and playing in playing Olympic games, which are just there's no mid-season doldrums, right? They're all high-stakes games, always phenomenal hockey. So really, it's a great test for guys. I when you have an Olympic year, the schedule is going to be packed. We were doing a series on Hot Stove. We had our different writers analyzing their team schedules, and guess what? Nobody likes their schedule.
Yeah, everybody's got a ton of back-to-backs, 3 and 4, 4 and 6.
Yeah. Exactly. And so, every team's going to be in the same boat, so you can't use the schedule as an excuse. Hopefully, the guys that don't go use the time wisely, and the guys that are going can use that and maybe springboard their game, like I said, to like a playoff kind of level before the stretch drive hits. Hopefully.
Yeah, you look at last year, though, in Four Nations, Matthew Tkachuk comes back and gets in that fight in the Team Canada game, and he wasn't back to Matthew Tkachuk really until
that's the risk.
Game 6.
For sure. It's absolutely the risk.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously key contributors to teams as well. Let's get to our next one here. Filibuster says, do the Flyers bring in a forward on a PTO with Forster uncertain to start the season, and a spot might be open depending on how Bumper, maybe Martone, do at training camp? Do they bring in a PTO, Bill, this year? Is he a Billy Guerin type?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't make the team, of course.
Yeah,
but I think they might consider it. There's that game of free agent musical chairs, and there are usually a couple of guys that can maybe help your team that are still sitting out there. Like just as a name, Brett Leeson, an example who's still out there. That's a guy who, maybe if you're looking to add size to your bottom six, it's a guy who has had some success before. That kind of a player. If he's still sitting, maybe you think about that. But usually your PTO guys are not necessarily going to be impact kind of guys. I'm trying to think. Have the Flyers had another PTO guy since Chris Stewart, who's been invited in or made the team? And I don't
recall any. Yeah. Sometimes you bring in that guy too, and maybe he gets assigned to the Phantoms.
Yeah.
What's his name? The guy that was here for a while with the Phantoms, then came up, had a little bit of success, and then went back to Sweden, I think it was. His last name started with an S. I can't think of it.
Yeah.
Lucas Sedlak.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, he was. Yeah, I mean, he came over. Was he a waiver claim or was he a trade? He came from Colorado, I think. And he played under Tortorella before. And then after a few weeks, actually, he just said, you know what, I'm going to go back to Europe, and that was that. But that was So I mean that was an in-season pickup. But I'm struggling to think of any other PTO since Stewart. So
Yeah, it's not something that happens. You want to get a look at your players and
yeah.
your future. A lot of times, sometimes they bring in those players just to kind of fill in some preseason games, and they're doing them a favor and get some play on tape. Not necessarily for them, but for the team, but for them to be able to put it out there. Eddie Allison tweets in a couple of questions. He said, "Will Bjarnason see any NHL action this year?" And I thought about that first. I went, "No way." I don't want to rush him there. But there's a chance that he could. I mean, obviously, it depends on injuries. Yeah. You have Ersson, you have Ladar. They're going to battle it out, and Fedotov may have something to say about it. Yeah.
It's unfortunately a lot of teams end up needing a fourth goalie at some point, and we don't know what's going to happen with Kolosov either. But
I think I know.
Well, I
being told,
I think we all know, but
yeah.
But it's really not sounding like he's going to be around, but who knows, right? Till it actually plays out. But a lot of times teams end up needing a fourth goalie, so he could come up. I'm loath to rush him up there, though.
Yeah.
A lot of times that prospect guy will come up in the middle of the season and get roughed up a little bit. First game in the NHL. It's kind of all part of it. It's not impossible, but but I think it would take injuries.
Yeah, I'll give it about a 20% chance that he'll see a game throughout the 82 this season, and he's going to be something we're going to be keeping an eye on, his development down there as well. Eddie also says, should the Flyers' third jersey be black with Flyers spelled across the chest, diagonally on the chest, with traditional logos on the shoulders with a matte black helmet? My vote is no. I want the logo on the front of the jersey.
I want the logo. When they went to the metallicized logo briefly, I hated that.
Yeah, me too.
I want the logo.
Yeah, I agree. Rick tweets in and says, great questions here already, but do you think the addition of Tocchets and his new coaching staff will have more of an impact for top players to want to play here? And how important is it to try and get a top pick in next year's draft? We already know that Pens are in on it. Yeah, Pens seem to be positioning themselves for Gavin McKenna pretty ostensibly. As far as for the Flyers and Tocchets, the first step is you got to start becoming a team that's showing signs that it can win.
You win. Yeah.
That's the first thing. I think Tocchets can help that, but they got to show growth as an organization, becoming relevant as a playoff team before they become attractive.
Correct, and I think that's the number one thing, is that you have to show that not just on the cusp of a playoff spot, but just looking like a team that's arrived, that's going to be in the mix for a while. And then there's all the other things we talk about too. The coach is a piece of it, and certainly the travel, the lifestyle, the facilities, all those things play in. But nothing sells a team like winning. So.
Yeah, that's the ultimate thing. That's what players want to do, and when they can pick their destination and want to go to a place that's going to pay them good, treat them good, and have a chance to win.
Yeah.
And with 32 teams, you can get that opportunity. Lee tweets in and says, hashtag Ask Billy, what veteran acquisitions have Lehigh Valley made to support the incoming rookie class? They brought some people back, I know, Bill.
Yeah. I haven't seen announcements of any notable names coming in. I think part of the whole reason with John Stone is they really want to get a look at these younger guys. And we'll see who'll be there, honestly. If all goes well, Alex Bump might be in the NHL to start the year.
Yep.
Right? Oliver Bonk on D, they want to take a look at him. Denver Barkey, they want to take a look at him and see what kind of a role he can play. I mean, for other guys, it's a make or break year. Like Tuamola, and Wisdom's on an AHL contract too.
Yeah,
so which it's not the end of the world. Guys have to turn that AHL deal into an NHL deal. And it's happened a couple times in recent years. So there's that possibility. He's one of the younger veterans that they want to see kind of take and run with things. So Richard is still there.
Yep.
He's an older veteran. who's very good in the AHL, but they haven't added a bunch of big AHL names this year. I really think that they want to push the developmental side of this, and I think that figured into their thinking for the coaching changes. I mean, you have Nick Schultz, who was just on the development side, who's now transitioning from development coach to an assistant coach. Terrence Wallen's not far removed from being a player. He's in his early 30s, so they definitely want to have a younger feel to it, and Stoughton is still a relatively young head coach, an experienced young head coach, but I think the fans are going to have a younger feel to them this year.
Yeah, let's get these guys cutting their teeth.
Yeah.
Next one comes from Philly Fanatic. He says, "Who do you think centers Mishkov this year?" And that's the $1 million question. A lot of people go, "Well, put Mishkov with Konechny and Zegras."
Yeah.
And I responded to a guy on Twitter that sent me that, and I said, "Well, sometimes, first of all, there's only one puck, and all those players want the puck to create with it. And oftentimes, your most skilled players playing together, sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
They just don't think the same way. They don't complement each other. Doesn't mean they're not good or they're not. It's just what you prefer to play with. I think we'll see that combination at some point rather early.
Yeah.
But we'll see where, because I don't know who his center is yet.
I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about how you slot your centers, and who will be in their wings. I mean, that's all to be determined. I'm not sure who the right guy would be. The other part of it too is that although Zegras improved without the puck, we were talking about that last episode, the episode before that, Cronin was talking about how much improved he was. But in Tocchets systems, the centers have a lot of this defensive responsibility. That's always been the knock on Zegras, although he improved apparently a lot this past year, sacrificing offense in the process. You don't have to sacrifice too much because
you need it.
Yeah, that's what the number one thing he's always going to be judged on is his offense. But if you have say you have a combo of Konechny, Michkov, and Zegras, someone's going to have to back check on that line.
Yeah,
and so. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work as a 200-foot line, and maybe you just try to have the rest of your lineup be as stable as you can, 200-foot players, and you're going to live with the risk taking to a degree.
Yeah, that's what power plays are for.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that. If day one of camp, absolutely put Zegras with him, but you still have Couturier, and I don't think Sean Couturier is ready to be a fourth line center either. So I'm not sure.
I agree. Which leads us to our next question. Dave Reeve tweets in and says, "How much of an improvement in the power play can we reasonably hope for this coming season?" I don't know what the number is. I want the power play ranked no lower than 20th in the league.
Yeah,
I think if they're going to take a step forward, that's where it's got to be.
Yeah,
and frankly, I just don't want to even talk about it anymore because I'm so sick of it.
Yeah.
And just how hideous it looked. It's got to be better because it can't be worse. We said that before. But how reasonable can we expect to jump? And you do add some pieces, Bill. You add Zegras. I think York's got to be a part of this in PP 1 or 2 and Drysdale.
In terms of guys for expectation this year, the Flyers need Drysdale to take that offensive jump this year.
Yeah.
There have been flashes of it, but Drysdale was drafted to be an offensive defenseman, to make the kind of impact in the NHL, Anaheim, then in Philly. And I understand injuries have been part of it. We were talking earlier about Hughes, right? Well, what Hughes has meant to Vancouver. I mean, there is at such a high skill level, so much speed there with Drysdale. To me, whoever you have out of the point is going to be absolutely critical, and having a defenseman that can jump into the tops of the circles, and they will keep other teams honest, and they'll open up a whole lot.
Yeah.
I don't know what Yogi Sveikovsky's preferences are necessarily in the power play. I have to watch some of that, but It's critical. Now, in today's NHL, being 20% will still put you right around 20th in the league.
Yeah.
It's just gone are the days when 80% power play, or rather, 20% power play, 80% PK. That 100 number that Ken Hitchcock always used to talk about, and AJ McGuire always. Now it's more like 105.
Yeah.
Now you need like a 25% power play, and so the Flyers are not going to get. They're not going to be a 25% power play team, but even they can flirt with. I mean, at absolute worst, you have to be 18 to 20.
Yeah.
If you're below that, then it's still not good enough. Hopefully, they at least take steps towards that. Let's cut it down the middle. Say 19% would be acceptable.
Yeah, I agree. Let's get to one last one here. Hashtag Ask Billy. Josh White says, "What do you want from Drysdale this year?" We just mentioned him. At this point, I don't think it's fair to say we should expect him to be a number one or number two. But I'm high on him. He said, my hope is that he can be a QB on the power play, as you just mentioned, and a solid 3-4 D man. He's still young, and there's still room for growth. I agree. I thought if he can build on that last third of last year, I think that's the right direction to start this year.
Yeah, when finally stayed healthy a bit, got his game rolling, kind of started to understand a little bit of the zone defense. That the system took him a long time to figure out, and just his own development. He needs to take the next steps all around as a player. But to me, again, the number one thing that I'm looking for is more offense, because the Flyers need it, and that's what you draft. And I've drafted him. That's what you required him to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and he can provide that. He's got the wheels and the hockey IQ offensively to be able to do that. So he's another player to keep an eye on. Bill, great stuff. Read Bill's stuff at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com. Systems breakdown coming up at HockeyHotStove.com and more. And we'll be back Wednesday. Dan Vladar will be our guest. He's never watched Star Wars. He doesn't know how to embrace the Darth Vladar. We'll talk about that much more with the Flyers Goaltender Wednesday's episode. Join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily.